Hi, my name is Pete Brown. I am a master sprinter, just turned 40 years old, but I've been running track almost my whole life. Took a break between 18 and 25 when I went to college, did not play any sports, came back, played a little football. Maybe I'll talk about some of that in a different video. But from 25 to 40, been pretty consistently running track. And I want to give a review on different spikes that I've been using over the years and kind of my thoughts on them. So from 25 through mid 30s, I really stuck with what was called the Nike Power Cat. I think it also became the Nike Jaw, maybe Jaw Fly. I'm trying to think what these guys are called here. Yep, Jaw Fly. Zoom Jaw Fly. So these right here, this is the original plate that you might have seen on tons of spikes in that era. It's very similar also to the plate on the Puma spike that Usain Bolt to break the record. So you got an 8-pin spike, your 4 across there, 4 across the top. Solid Pebax plate, very stiff. So you see some videos where people test stiffness and they grab it here and they push it this way. You can see this one's pretty stiff. I don't really think that's the way to test stiffness. I think it's the other way. Because if you think about the way you hit a track, you're hitting a track here, right? And the stiffness is going to be how much does your heel then bend the spike, right? If it's super stiff, your heel's not going to go down, but if it's not stiff, it'll allow this to bend. And then how much snap back do you get, right? So I don't think testing it this way makes any sense. I think you want to test stiffness the other way. So if I were to do that on this spike here, which is the one I've used for many years, it's also very similar to spikes that Bolt ran in, Gatlin, all the guys in the era where guys were dropping the fastest hundreds of all time. Really stiff plate. If you try to pull it, you can see I have a really hard time bending this thing the way that I think you should bend it. So really stiff plate. This is the spike that I use where I set all my personal bests when I was 30 years old, so 10 years ago. So love this spike right here. Those bests were 10.81, 21.69, and then I ran some 49s in the 400. But the 21.69 really being, I think, according to the IAAF points, I think that's what it is. That's my best race of all time, 21.69 in the spike. All right, so after that, I kept blowing these more expensive spikes out the sides of them in practice. So what I did in my, I think it was like mid 30s, maybe like 36 years old, I went and I bought a pair of the cheap Nike spikes. I thought, hey, for practice, I'm going to practice in the cheap ones. These are the Rivals, our Rival S. Let's see the official name here. Zoom Rival S. So this is the model up until the last year. I think they've kind of redesigned it. So I bought a pair of these, thought I'll stick with the cheap spike. If I blow them out, no big deal. I'm not constantly ruining $100 spikes. These things, I think I bought them for like 50 bucks or something like that at a store. So the difference there, you only got 3/4 of a plate. See back here, you've just got some rubber here. And I started training in these and I got really, really comfortable in them. So comfortable that the last few years in my upper 30s, I've been racing in these. And I've actually found them to be totally sufficient. I don't know if you need to go buy $100 to $200 spikes. You can go buy a pair of these and I think you can be just fine. Back to the stiffness, if you were to test it like a lot of videos where they push it this way, doesn't look very stiff at all, right? It's bending a lot here at this point where the plate ends. But if you're thinking where your foot's hitting, your foot's going to hit here, and you're worrying how much is the thing going to bend that way, it's still pretty darn stiff. That's a pretty solid plate. If you look at that, it's aggressive. Really great grip. I mean, you almost don't even need the spikes, but this thing, it's not a bad spike by any means. Really comfortable, more than sufficient for somebody. Maybe you get the elite level. You might want a little more stiffness, but you know what? I'll tell you what, my Achilles felt great in this, never had any issues, got really comfortable in them, and actually ran some of my best practice times in these. I've got a couple practice personal bests. My 55-meter dash personal best is actually in these. I ran that at 39 years old. I'm not a very good 55-meter runner. I'm not even going to say that time is pretty slow, but these were totally fine for a 55 indoors. Great for accelerating. You feel the track, stiff enough. If anything, it allows your foot to be a foot. It's not doing the work for you, right? It's just providing a nice solid spike that's comfortable, enough stiffness, allows the foot to be the spring, and you can run just fine in these. So I've come to really like these. But I had to try the new technology. You see everybody talking about the Max Flies. So I bought a pair of these bad boys, and I've been trying them out. These are the Nike Zoom Max Fly. I'm guessing it says Zoom in there, right? Where you got the air bubble. You've got the carbon fiber plate, and you got all this foam. I have to admit, they never made sense to me. As a sprinter, you want to get on and off that ground really quickly, right? The elite guys are on and off in 0.08 seconds. They're applying force in 0.04 seconds. A guy like me, it takes me more like 0.1 seconds to be on and off the ground, probably applying force in 0.05. In that quick amount of time, I have no idea why you'd want foam in an air pocket. It doesn't make sense to me. I think you want hard. If anything, you're going to a hard, stiff plate that's on and off the ground quickly. No kind of depression, compression, I don't know what the right word is. So they never made sense to me, but I thought, you know what, I got to try these things out. So I bought them at the end of last track season, and I was going to only try them once that season ended, and I could do it this summer. So I've been running a tons of practice times in these. I actually ran a couple summer meets in them. I ran a couple of 11.0s, which were right in line with all my other races this year in the rival. So they were no faster. And as I've gone back and forth in practice, I've done some practices where I do 100% of the race or 100% of the reps in these. Some where I go back and forth between I'll tell you about in a second, between different spikes in this. I have found them to provide no advantage. Actually, I have found them to be slightly slower than the more traditional spikes at top speed. I can run pretty fast in them, but not quite as fast. I'm always slightly slower in them. And maybe that's a preference thing. Maybe it's the way I run. I don't know, but it kind of aligns with the way I viewed it. Like, I don't know how this could provide an advantage for top speed sprinting. Maybe there's something in the distance world once you get out to 1500. There's that free energy return that the pocket provides. You got the cushioning that allows you to do more reps. Maybe it's more of a training spike, but from a pure performance, top speed standpoint, I have not seen it an advantage. If anything, I have found them to be slightly slower than a more traditional spike. Now, I mentioned already the foam and the pocket. They do have a really stiff plate. So back to my test again, right? So here's the one a lot of people do. It's stiffer than the other ones going this way. I don't think that's the right way, but you can see going this way, it's super stiff. No question about it. Going the way that I think you should test a spike, that thing does not budge, right? That carbon fiber plate is extremely stiff. So that makes sense to me, but this foam stuff, I don't know, I'm not feeling it. But back to not feeling it, hate the feel of them. Feels like you're running on stilts. It's really weird. I say I hate the way it feels, right? So I've tried to get used to it. Over time, I got more and more comfortable. They feel springy. I won't lie. You hit the ground, you feel like you got like a trampoline. So like there's this mental thing where you're like, oh man, these are giving me a ton of return. I have not seen the proof. The times have not shown it to me. And if anything, look at the elites. The 100-meter dash times, okay, way faster than what I can run, right? But they're not the level they used to be at. If you look at like the, obviously the Bolt era you had Bolt, you have Gatlin, you've got Blake, you've got Gay, a lot of other guys. Those guys were dropping consistent 9.7s. They were jogging 9.8s. You got the 9.6s. Those are the outliers. But a lot of people were running in that zone. Now we're talking about you run a mid 9.8, you're the world champ. And that used to be semifinal time in the hard plastic plate akin to the PowerCat or the Nike Jaw Fly of the past years. This is where the speed came from. These are where the times happen. Not saying the spike made it, but I'm saying this is the appropriate spike for top speed. I'm not seeing it here. I'm not seeing it happen in the hundreds, right? I'm not seeing it happen in the top speed. In my personal experience, same deal. No faster in these bad boys. Back to the feel, feels like you're running in stilts. Really awkward, but you can get used to it. You start getting this mental, I got this trampoline, I got this spring. Not coming all the time. Then you get to the curves. No, I do not like them on the curves. They feel like you're squishing out to the side. You don't grip that track and feel the pull that you feel with that more traditional spike. You don't feel it. This is not it, in my opinion. You're wasting your time if you're running in these. You're wasting your money. All right, so let's go to what I think right now. So I don't have the Superflies. I should admit that. I don't have the Superfly Elite, which a lot of pros use. But I did pick up a pair of the new redesigned, I guess that's a bit redundant, the redesigned Nike Jaw Fly 4. So the most recent version of the old school spike, right? So now what they've done here, traditional spike, the plate is different. It's redesigned. See if you can see that. There, we've got some light there. You can see it is a full-length plastic spike plate where they have taken out a bunch of spots there to lighten it up. I think it's only 7 pins, where the 7 pins is one less pin, one less thing. So this is Nike's lightest track spike. I think it's the lightest maybe of all time. And so that's one thing. Light, full-length plastic plate, so it feels great. It feels, just like anything else. And for stiffness, back to the test again that people would show you, not as stiff as some of the other ones. Like, I think the actual old jaw looks stiffer this way, but once again, I don't think that's the way to test it. I think you test it this way. And that thing is pretty darn stiff. That isn't moving where you want it. So if your foot's hitting the ground, it's taking a bit to really bend it down. And this is the spike that I had to try. So I've been using the Max Fly this summer, picked this up midsummer to end of summer. No races in it, but I will tell you, the performance stands out across all of my, I guess, all of my recent spikes. So the Rival, the Max Fly, and the Jaw Fly, the times are noticeably faster in this. Now, is there a mental thing there? I don't know. It definitely feels amazing on the curve, but is there actually just a comfort from like my style? That could be part of it. Or is it the actual spike? I'll tell you, this is the spike in my opinion. Now, the Superfly Elite, very possible that's as good as this. I don't know, I don't have it, but this is very similar in nature to that spike. So these types of spikes, where you got the full plastic plate, low weight, right? None of that foam or air pocket, light and stiff. I have run Max Fly reps, flipped over to the Jaw Fly, and the times drop like crazy. There's a difference. There is a noticeable difference. And I've done full workouts in these, full workouts in the Max Flies, back and forth. Maybe I'll run some Max Fly, some Jaw. Times get faster. I'm thinking, oh, maybe I'm warmed up. Pop over to the Max Fly. Times get slower. It stands out. Now, I don't have the full statistical analysis to share, but I will tell you, it is definitely faster. And I've also just turned 40 years old and ran my fastest fly of all time, flying 10 of 0.094. So 10.6 meters a second or so. And when I ran it twice that day. Now, there was a little bit of a wind, but I'm very aware of, all-time, wind data and stuff. So I don't have a measurement, but I have a sense there was some wind. But I can tell you that wind was not strong enough to make it the outlier that day. And the fact that I did it twice and replicated it, and those other reps that day were constantly in that like 0.96 zone, I was flying that day. And then I run, the curve. I've done different curve times. All this stuff stands out. So this right here is a spike to me. Nike Jaw Fly 4. Loving it. I might get a pair of the Superflies just to check them out. But there's no question, as I enter next track season, finally a Masters athlete, this is going to be the spike I'm taking in. The Max Flies, they're in the closet. I'm done with them. Never using them again. Rivals, maybe a training spike now and then. If I want something, if I want to just be a little easier on the Achilles and not have so much stiffness. But this is a heck of a spike. Great grip. Stiffness where it counts, right? That foot hits the ground. That is not moving much, right? That is nice and stiff. And then you can see here, they got some reinforcements. You got the openings here, but they got some plastic lines going through there to provide the reinforcement. So anyway, I know this is long-winded. That's my review. Any questions, let me know. Happy to answer them. Happy to look into other spikes. I could actually maybe start making some better videos, a little higher quality, some training stuff, whatever it may be. But yeah, cool. See ya.